All right. It's week 1, 2023, Circa Millions. So we got this is our Armani Suits and Run entry. So returning from last year, you've got myself and Kieran. And then we have a new addition to the team. We got Zach Bowen, who's first time participating in any sort of competition like this, super contest, Circa Millions. So we're excited to have Zach aboard. We do have a silent investor again this year, Kieran and I's father. I think one big change to note as we kind of move into this, last year, for those of you that followed along, we were in both contests. So we were in both the super contest at the Westgate and the Circa Millions at the Circa Sportsbook. This year made the decision just to go with the Circa Millions. I think just kind of staying focused on one competition. And I think, just as we've seen over the last few years, Circa is definitely becoming the game in town. And I think with the guaranteed prize pool and just with the overall vibes from the Circa, just decided to kind of put all of our chips there. So that's kind of the setup. Same deal as it's been. We'll go each and every week. We're going to make 5 selections. All picks are against the spread. They'll be doing obviously the year-long payouts, but they'll also have quarterly payouts. I think they're going to do like after week 4, week 8, week 12, and week 16, or no, they'll just do 4, 8, 12, and then they'll do the final. I think they're also going to do a midway point. So Kieran, do we want to talk a little bit about kind of the revised format, how we're going to approach making the picks this year?
Yeah. So last year and in years past, it was, us two, and then it was us and Jose, and we would just go through and we'd pretty much end up breaking down every single game. It took forever, but we tried to reach as close to a consensus 5 as we possibly could. We did decent in years past. Last year, I felt like we took a step back. I think that the big reason because of that was because it was only 2 of us. I think that we needed a third voice. That's why I wanted to bring Zach in. We do our own little contest on the side with our friends from home. That's the exact same setup as this, 5 spreads a week, and Zach usually does pretty well. So, knowing Zach and knowing him as a gambler and everything else, I felt like he was a good addition, getting a third voice in there. And I think that the big problem last year was that we were running through all these games and we were trying to find 5 games that the 2 of us love. And when you're just like a normal gambler like we are, on average, you're going to like at best hit 50%. So yep. I think trying to find that and reach a consensus there kind of held us back statistically, just because we're following that same trend as being a public gambler. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to spin a wheel, and then we're going to go in whatever order the wheel determines, and we're each going to give our own pick. There's no vetoes. If Zach gets the first pick and he picks the same spread that was my number 1 pick, I need to move on. I need to go to my second best pick or something like that. If he's picking a spread that goes against the pick that I would have picked, that's too bad for me. It's just bad luck with the wheel. Better luck next time, that type of stuff. But yeah, I feel like trying to make it as random as possible, and the idea that like some weeks we're like at least one of us is going to have a pick that we might hate. I think that's actually good, right? Because if you go with every pick that you love, you're not going to hit at a high percentage. So I think mixing it up like that is going to be better for us statistically. And then after we get through those 3 picks, we're going to do the 2 primetime games, and that's where we're going to come together and just try and get, I guess, majority, right? Just 2 out of 3 at least. I don't think we're going to always have to reach a unanimous vote there. So we're going to try and come together for those. I think it's fun to have skin in the game every week in the Sunday and Monday night games, and that'll round out our 5 picks.
Yep. What I like about that too is like, again, years past when we've maybe considered the Sunday and Monday night game, like if we couldn't get to that unanimous decision, then we just wouldn't pick the game. And so here it's like, amongst the 3 of us, 2 of us are going to like a side. Like there's just no way around it. So we'll get to a pick. And I think, one thing we should just make sure we're clear on, Kieran, I know you said no vetoes on any of the picks, which is fine, certainly not pushing back against that. But I think, if you have a side and I actually had the other side as one of my top 3 picks, do we want to spend any time talking about it, or do we just
Yeah, I mean,
keep
I
saying
think that
mom?
the idea is right. Whoever is up on the clock, it's their pick. They can just give their reasoning, and then I think it's fair to just have some discussion around it. I think it would be kind of boring if it's just give the pick and then move on. So, I mean, if there
Yep.
is pushback, I mean, it's at least valid to just state your opinion. But I mean, say that you're really on one side, or say that you really love one pick and you didn't love the rest of the board. I mean, maybe there's also an opening for some negotiation there. Or it's like, hey, maybe if you take your second pick, if you have a second pick that you love, move on to that because like I really didn't love the board this week. I need that pick. Blah
Yep.
blah. Blah. You know, I mean, so I think that as we play it along, we'll feel it out and see. Like, I mean, there's no point in staying so rigid to these rules that we haven't even tried yet. So,
Yep.
I just figured it was an interesting format for us to try out, and we can always make an adjustment if we don't feel like it's working. But
We're in this for the long game. I think we've kind of talked about this in the past. Like, this is just kind of the type of thing. Like, you just kind of bookmark it. We're going to do it every year. And we'll just continue to play with the format and see what we like and what works. And maybe this year's it. Maybe after this year we keep noodling. We'll see what happens. So
and I think another point too is that I mean, even if we start off slow, or if we ever hit a rough patch, it doesn't even matter. It could be starting slow, ending slow. If we just get hot for 4 weeks, we can win some good money too. So we're never out of it, no matter how we're doing at any point in the season. If we can just get hot for like a month span, then fuck it. I mean, we can make good money there. I mean, say we do it for 2 months. So it's all about grinding away every week, just trying to put it out. And I think the goal is like 3-2 has to be our bad week.
That's a standard.
Yeah, like we can't have more than really 2 and 3 weeks. We cannot have the 1 and 4s. Can't have the 0 and 5s at all. We really need to be doing that. And that's why I feel like this format can kind of help us out with that too. So I don't know. We got anything else, or we want to start getting into it?
And we'll track the picks too, like a little bit of an accountability measure in place,
I'm actually terrified. I'm just gonna go like 0 for my first 10 weeks. Just getting it out in the air now. I mean,
it's a little scary,
pretty
but
nervous
I
about
think,
my solo picks. Yeah.
But I think there's something to that of like, you got to come every week with, and again, like, we're not asking you to have a strong opinion on every game on the board, but it's like, it's of the 15, 16 games, some weeks, 12 games, like, you got to have a strong opinion on at least one game, like, the one that you're going to bring to the table. You want to have two backups at least, because if you do get third on the wheel, and then if, like, for instance, if I'm third this week given my pick, and both of you guys actually have my top 2 picks, like, I got to have that third game I feel really good about. And then you got to have some sort of a lean at least on the other 2 games. But I think Kieran was kind of saying this earlier, it's we're also just kind of simplifying the prep process, I think, a little bit, which will maybe allow us to just be a little bit more focused.
Yeah, it's definitely scary to be in the spotlight because you have, it's 2 sides of the coin where it's like, well, you only need to get 1 pick, right? You got to have 1 pick that you just know is going to hit. But at the same time, you only have 1 pick. So, I mean, if you lose it for the first 7 weeks and you got an 0-7 record, it's a tough look. But I mean, it is what it is. That's just how it goes. And I mean, the likelihood of that happening is, not that high. So, I mean, I think that we can come together. I think we're all good enough brains where it's like, if we can just lock in on that, because it is nice to not feel like, oh shit, like I don't really love this game, but like I do, this is my lane. Let's go with it. Fine. Any of that. I think just going with picks that you love, I think it's going to feel good too. And, I like the accountability because I think it'll be fun for chirping each other as well if somebody's not, holding their weight or anything.
All right. Shall we?
All right. So should I? I'll share my screen. I'll do the first spin, and then we'll just get right into the picks.
Yep.
All right. Let's see.
I couldn't believe how much a actual like real life wheel costs. I saw your text here, and
that was ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I was like, I could get like a $10 wheel on Amazon. No, they're all like $40. I was like scrolling, I couldn't find anything. That's like the standard price apparently too. There was like nothing above it. It was like all $40.95. But all right, you guys can see the wheel.
You should do, Kieran, you should maybe ask Mom to ask Katie to give that to like Maddie as a art project.
Oh, to make us a wheel?
That could work.
Yeah, just get a homemade.
We should get like the I'm picturing like the Price is Right wheel with our names on it. and we all just get like a big slice of the pie. That would be pretty great if I could just step back and I could just spin it like this.
Oh my! You get it built into the wall.
Yeah. It just goes into my bathroom. It's like in my shower now.
Well, if we win
Oh,
this,
shit.
if we win the Circa Millions this year, perhaps we'll have enough money that we can make that investment for.
Maybe I'll
future.
find it in like the like a back alley, like Kramer found the Merv Griffin set. I just
Yeah.
All right. You guys can see the wheel. We're ready to do
Yeah,
it.
I can see it.
All
Let's
right,
do
here
it.
we go.
Oh my!
All right, Tristan, you're
I
up.
love it. I love
All
it.
right. Let's see. All right. So my favorite pick of the week, Steelers plus 2.5 over the 49ers.
Ooh.
So Pitt, the last couple of years, they've been surprising week 1 winners. Last couple of years, they've had upset wins over Cincy and Buffalo. They were underdogs both games. Kieran and I have, and we spent a lot of time talking about this last year because Pitt was an underdog a lot last year, but Mike Tomlin as an underdog, very successful against the spread, has a good history there. SF, also, last year was a good example, like, just some recency bias, got off to a slow start. They had that shocking loss to Chicago in week 1. They almost blew a big lead the year before against Detroit. Injuries and readiness, a concern from my perspective for San Francisco. Brock Purdy, obviously with the UCL, they say he's fine. Obviously he's the starter, but we don't really, I don't think we really know how good he is, like how healthy he is, how good that arm is. George Kittle's banged up, not sure, how much of an impact he's going to have. Bosa just signed, so he's probably going to be limited in week 1 just because he didn't get in a full camp. And I think too, like Pitt riding huge momentum wave from the preseason. They've looked great. They had 5 drives in the preseason with all starters in there. They scored 5 touchdowns. So I just really like the way that Pitt is trending. I like the way that Tomlin has his team ready early in the season. I like the way he has his teams ready always as an underdog. TJ Watt in the lineup. TJ Watt played 10 games last year. Pitt was 8-2 when he was in the lineup. And he'll be there. He'll be healthy, ready to go. I think he can wreak havoc on that O-line and Brock Purdy. I heard some stats today as well. Brock Purdy, very subpar, bottom of the league in terms of QB efficiency under pressure. So, you got to figure TJ Watt's going to put a lot of pressure on him. In this game. And so again, with the injuries, guys banged up, I really like the Steelers at home getting 2.5. I think they're going to come out swinging.
I agree with the pick. That was one of it was 5th on my list. So I did a top 5 just for the hell of it. Zach and we have that other contest, so I did need 5 to round it out. But I felt like the spread kind of stunk to me. It just, I know that it's a Niners traveling out east to Pittsburgh, all that, but I just would have expected the spread to be a little bit higher with Pittsburgh being, a little bit of a weaker team coming in from last year. So that was one that kind of had my ears perking up a little bit. And then I also love Tomlin as a home dog. And I think it is. I think we just need to see like what Purdy is. Is he truly as elite as he was in those games, or is the league now going to have tape on him? How is the elbow really feeling? So
Yep.
I just feel like this is going to be kind of a weird game for the Niners. I like the Steelers too there.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually, they were top 3. I kind of tried to narrow down the board, come in with 3 picks. They were one of the 3 that I had on my list. I like the pick. It's just like Kieran was saying, it's a shit line. It smells real bad. I don't think the Niners will lose many games this year, but I think getting them week 1, I think they're kind of a team once they get rolling, and they get comfortable with each other and they're healthy, like you were saying, Tristan. They're a problem. They're going to be a really good team this year, but week 1 away, home dog, it all kind of makes sense. Totally see it. and like the pick.
And Pitt could be a good team this year.
Oh, 100%. The
Pitt
AFC
could
North is a
win. Pitt could win a bunch
bloodbath.
of games. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's an interesting division, but I mean they got some really good players, and
Yeah.
it,
If
it seems
Pickett's if
like
Pickett's a guy, that's like a real serious team. They
yeah,
have everything else, pretty
yeah.
much.
It was
So
interesting. I was podcast I was listening to today. They were talking a little bit too about just like Kenny Pickett in Pitt, and like they, like he is their guy, and like they really loved the fact, like when they drafted him, they really loved the fact that like when he was at Pitt, he played in the same stadium. Like,
yeah,
apparently like the door that he walks in to get into the stadium is the exact same door that he used when he was at Pitt. Like nothing changed for him from when he went from college to pro. Tomlin had already developed a relationship with him, just seeing him around the weight room and stuff like that. And it's like this year's a great opportunity. He's going to take that next step, kind of move up to the next level. And they got some weapons around them, and again, they look great in the preseason. So I think you just take that early momentum and let it ride.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel the same way about Pickett, right? I mean, I don't love him, and I talk so much about him when it comes to dynasty and fantasy and all that. And I don't love him as much as like a huge producer for that, but I do think that they have found their guy for real life football. I think that he's a guy that can go out there, win games for them for the exact same reason that you said. I just love that storyline of him working out at the same facility. They got to watch him, all that stuff. It's perfect. They know what they have. They feel comfortable with it clearly. So the Steelers, they're another one of those teams that I love where they're just an institution. I trust them to just figure it out with this type of stuff. So, I like it. And, the only thing that really worries me about the Steelers is that like everybody kind of picks them as like the surprise team this year. But besides that, they have every reason to believe it, right? They got the great defense, offense is trending up. So, I mean, I like the bet here. I think that the Niners, they can afford an early season loss. I'm looking at their schedule. This just feels like the game that they would do it. So, we all like the pick. So,
all right.
Yeah, I guess good start. I guess, or
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess
know.
we'll learn. Maybe that's a bad.
Maybe it's not.
Yeah, maybe this is a. maybe we should keep our mouths shut on the reaction. Just let it be.
Just hyping each other's picks up.
yeah. Like let's just like. All right,
first one.
Here we go.
First one.
Who's next? All right. It's my turn. All right. So my number one pick, I really like this one. I really like the number that it's at. Well, I was just looking. I don't know. I forget what lines I was looking at. I think I might have just been using FanDuel, but so I'm not sure exactly what it is on the Circa. I didn't pull those up, but Ravens -10. Is that the number at Circa too?
Yep.
Okay. So it's the Ravens. They're at Houston, I believe. Let me just let me flip to my actual notes on it, but. Tristan, this is a trend that we've ridden in the past, right? The Ravens against bad teams as double-digit favorites. I feel like the Ravens. I'm really high on the Ravens this year. I really like the energy that they're bringing in. I love that video that they had when they were doing the rookie show, right? I think Zay Flowers had everybody going crazy, but I think people
was that when Odell like fell when he heard he like got a
yeah. So I'm really big on this Ravens passing game, right? They got rid of Greg Roman. They're not doing that 12 personnel stuff anymore. They brought in that Todd Monken guy. He came from Georgia. He's had a history in the past as an offensive coordinator in the league, and he's had a lot of seasons. I think he's had like 4 seasons, and like 2 or 3 of them he's been top 10 in the league in pass attempts. They're going to be throwing it a lot, right? They just paid Lamar Jackson all this money, and the last couple of years he's missed a lot of significant games and really hurt their success in the season because he hasn't been able to play, right? So they're paying him to play quarterback. They want him to run as like an escape, but they do not want those designed runs anymore. They brought in Odell. They paid him probably too much money, right? They drafted Zay Flowers. Of course, they have Mark Andrews. They're going to be running it 5 wide a lot. They're going to be throwing it a lot. I think they're going to be putting up a lot of points, and I think that they're going to bring that energy into Houston. And quite frankly, I think Houston's just a really bad team, right? They got a rookie head coach, defensive-minded head coach. I'm not a big Stroud guy personally. I've always talked about that, since last year. And they just don't really have a good offense, right? Damian Pierce is a good running back. They got a bad offensive line. They don't really have any good receivers with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Those are the guys that are fighting for it. Those aren't star receivers, right? That offense isn't going to be able to keep up. I think Baltimore is going to look to run up the score, make a statement in week one. And I love it at 10. That's just a perfect number for that. This is going to be a 14, 21 point win for them. So I love the Ravens here.
I got no objections to the pick. I didn't, it wasn't in my top three. I looked at it. Ravens are a team. I'm definitely going to pick it with at least, one of my entries in Survivor this week. I mean, I think it's an obvious one. I think there'll be a popular Survivor pick. So it's not like I'm going out on a limb there. But I do think the potential is there for a blowout. Like you said, Kieran, it's like you have a team that you expect to be a really good football team against what is expected to be a really bad football team. And
Yeah,
I think Ravens are coming off, maybe a bit of a disappointing year. Lamar's looking to make a statement. All the signs are there for them to come out and like foot on the gas, no break. So yeah, I think potential's there. I think the only thing that just scared me is, a 10-point number in week one, that's all.
I think that's always, you see that number and you get worried about it, but at the same time, it's like you just can't overthink it. That's one of those you're going to look back on it, and they're going to be up 28-0 in the first half, and you're going to be like, of course, right?
I was just going to say, like we might be covering, by the end of the first quarter. So
yeah,
I think it's a big Lamar Jackson. Tristan said it, but just a real Lamar Jackson. Like, I'm still here, kind of first week of the season last year. I mean, it doesn't get talked about now, but it was a pretty bad situation for the majority of the year last year. He was kind of on and off. Didn't really. I don't even really know how many games he played, but like probably half the season. I mean, how many? Yeah. I mean, he really wasn't even on the field much. And just the whole beef with the Ravens organization for that little bit. I think he has something to prove. He always has like that chip on the shoulder, and I could just totally see him coming out with that new offense, with the emphasis on passing, just blowing the doors off of them. I mean, CJ Stroud, I'm not a believer. I think he's kind of a fraud. So just initially in his first game too. Yeah, just in his first game,
quarterbacks, they just don't do well. The Ravens have a good defense.
Yeah,
another quick thing. I just did look back real quick. So Lamar Jackson, he's played 5 seasons, right? He's had 4 as a starter and 4 as a week 1 starter. So going back, starting with last year, going backwards, they won 24-9. They lost 27-33. They won 38-6. They won 59-10. And then even the year before that, when Flacco was still the starter, they did win 47-3 for what it's worth. So the Ravens also have a good history these last 5 years, at least, of coming out, kind of stomping on their opponent. So, I like it here. I think they're just going to come out and do the same thing.
Yeah. Roquan Smith might actually
good teams beat up on the bad teams.
I think, their defense is going to be flying around. Really, really tough matchup.
All right. Pick number 2.
All right.
Do we still spin?
Do you want me to spin it just to see your name?
Yeah, ceremonial.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Gotta spin the wheel. Gotta spin the wheel.
All right, here we go.
All right,
Zach, you're up.
Yeah, that felt good. That felt really good. Right. So I'm gonna be bringing Seahawks -5.5. Kind of on the same feel as the Ravens game. I think he could just get out of hand quick. Cooper Kupp ruled out today. For the Rams, Seahawks I think they're just going to keep it rolling this year, at least at the start. I don't know if they'll be able to sustain the momentum they had last year, but at least to start the season, drafted JSN, added a new receiver to the team. They're loaded. Their offense should be able to move the ball pretty easily against the Rams. I don't know anybody in the Rams secondary. Off the top of my head, they traded Jalen Ramsey. I couldn't tell you one DB on their team at the moment. Aaron Donald still exists, but it's only one guy on their defense. I truly couldn't name another person on their defense actually at the moment. As far as the Seahawks defense, I think they're were a young, scrappy, really good defense last year, only a year better. The JSN was the pick that everyone talks about, but I think he was a top 5 pick. That Witherspoon kid out of Illinois, he balls. He's a really, really good cornerback. And I think their team is just going to be buzzing week 1. 5.5 is a gross number. I don't love the number, but take it. I think it's a 10-point game. If it's a 10-point game, Sunday evening, I don't think anybody would be really surprised. It seems pretty reasonable. I don't know who Stafford's going to be throwing the ball to, so
Yeah.
don't know how many
I mean,
points they could really put up or backdoor.
I feel like there's been some just like weird stuff coming out of the Rams, like
Yeah.
during camp. Like, I mean, obviously the Cooper Cup stuff has been a bit unnerving. Pardon the pun there. But it's Stafford coming out. Like, was it Stafford that said it, or was it his wife?
It
But
was a
like,
report about, I think it might have been his wife on a podcast talking about, yeah, how he just actually, I thought it was like a joke. I thought it was like one of those like parody pages or something. It's a real story. Like he had
Yeah.
trouble relating to his teammates, needed a Facebook to remember their names or some shit like that. Just bizarre, but
brutal.
yeah. But I mean, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I like this pick as well. I think this is another one where you just can't overthink it. I think you need to see it for what it is. And I think that the Rams, maybe it's not so sneaky. That's what I wrote down, but I think that they're a sneaky tank team. I think they're a team
Yeah.
that could be in the discussion for Caleb Williams next year.
Yeah.
They're bad. And I know that they have Stafford coming back, and I know that, Cooper Cup may or may not be coming back, say that he is. I mean, we've seen Stafford play on bad teams with Calvin Johnson. So
Yeah.
like, it's not out of the question, especially Stafford. He's not what he was years ago. He's, maybe more of a shell of himself, dealing with the back injury. Sounds like he realistically should retire. And we could see at some point, like we saw in Vegas last year with Derek Carr, where he maybe steps aside and then Stetson Bennett comes in and he gets some starts. Who knows, right? But yeah, it's something that Zach and I have talked about a lot with the Seahawks, where I think that Geno Smith, he can replicate last season. And maybe he's not a full 100% of what he was last year. Maybe it's 75, 80, or even like 90%. But at the same time, like, he can do all that stuff that he did last year. It was nothing fluky about it. He wasn't getting good luck on anything. He was just making good throws. He was able to use his legs, and the Seahawks offense are putting something together. And I think the Seahawks are really building something here. I think that they maybe have an opportunity, depending on how the Niners and Purdy are this season. They could maybe backdoor and steal the division, right? So they're coming in, they're looking to do that. I think that the Rams are kind of checked out. I think McVay wishes that he got out when he had the chance. So yeah, I think the Rams are just trying to weigh down.
I mean, people have been talking about like the Rams were, they got the Super Bowl, but they sold out for it, right? And they've kind of been driving towards a cliff, and I think this year is the cliff. And yeah, I think you're probably right, Kieran. Like, it's probably a tank. I mean, they're actually going to be competing against a team in their division, for that number 1 pick. But I do think they could be a really bad team. Depending on the severity of Cup's injury, it's like, if they come out and lose the first few games, like, how much are they going to rush him back, versus, maybe just focusing on getting him right long term. So, this was a game I looked at. I almost put it in my top 3. I had a couple other games that I don't know if I loved them more, but I think it's a good pick. I was happy to hear it.
Cool. All right. Well, that gives us our 3 there, so we can do the primetime games.
Let's do it.
We breezed through those, huh?
Do we should we use the wheel to see who talks first?
We gotta maximize.
I mean, I could reset. I mean, yeah, because I am trying to think like how else we want to go about it. I mean,
yeah, maybe let's do it that way. Let's just use the wheel again. Bring it back. Make it interactive.
All right. Let's see. All right, we'll have to. Oh no, I can get it. We have a Depends ad at the bottom of my screen.
Oh, geez.
Worrisome.
Wait, hold on. Digital advertising is targeted based on searching.
Something tells me that spinthewheel.io doesn't have the greatest algorithm.
Did you shit yourself recently?
Yeah. No, I do have a history. It's been a long time though, so I don't know. I think that it maybe is just they don't have the best algorithm on this website. That's my guess.
You have a history of shitting yourself, or
Yeah, yeah, you know,
Yeah,
like
I do
you know,
too. It must run in the family.
yeah, past my teens. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, all right, so
You
we
get
got to
one a year.
reset.
One shit yourself a year. That's my rule.
Yeah,
Just
that's
stay
kind of
within that. Stay within
yeah.
that, and you're all right. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Do they roll over those, Zach? Like if you
Nah,
don't shit
no.
I
yourself in
think it's like
2023.
PTO hours. You get like a fraction, so it's like over like
Yeah.
10 years, you can like buy yourself an extra one.
Yeah,
But I mean, no, you can't have it just roll over year by year. That's just reckless. You
Yeah.
got 10 years
Yeah.
and you got 10 of them in one. No, you can't be doing that. It's just
Oh man, that could be a problem.
that's terrible. All right, so okay, do we want to go one by one?
No, just spin the wheel and
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so but I'm asking, so do we want to like spin the wheel and then whoever it lands
Uh,
on just like kicks off the conversation, or do we want to go like you give your thing, right? Because like
oh yeah, let's do it that way. Whoever it lands on kicks it off, and then we just go.
yeah, like you float
Yeah.
out your lean and then we just take
Yeah.
it from all right,
Yeah.
here we go.
perfect.
Very exciting.
All right. All right, look at that. I'm glad to be like the inaugural one on this.
Yeah.
All right, so Cowboys Giants is it's Cowboys minus 3.5, right? I got the Giants. Divisional home dog. I don't know. I'm iffy on the Cowboys this year. I'm just not sure, right? They don't have Zeke anymore. I'm not sure if Pollard's ready to take on that lead back role, both just you know, from a maturity standpoint in his career, as well as can he actually take on that workload, right? And then beyond him, what do they have? Like Rico Dowdle, and then I don't know, some other guy that I've never heard of. So they don't have that two-man backfield that I think that they found success with in the past. And I'm also worried about them from the standpoint of losing Kellen Moore, kind of in favor of Mike McCarthy and what he wants, right?
Yeah.
The big report that came out when Kellen Moore left was that Mike McCarthy didn't like how Kellen Moore just wanted to score points all the time. Which I mean, I think that that's a good thing, right? I think wanting to constantly score points, and I understand, okay, you got to use the clock, you use that, but it's like McCarthy was coming from a standpoint where it sounded like he was just like, well, no, why would we put it in the end zone when we could use 2 more plays to get it in the end zone? I think you just got to go out and score. I think McCarthy's kind of a bum. You know, he had that, you know, lightning in a bottle with Rodgers and the Packers, but he's kind of been, you know, an absolute bum. I feel like he's nearing the hot seat in Dallas anyways. So I like the Giants. I like what they're building. I think that Daboll is a great coach. You know, I think that you know, they put their trust in Daniel Jones. They've started bringing in some weapons. I think that receiving core is going to take a step up, especially with Darren Waller at least being guaranteed healthy for the start of this game. I mean, we'll see if he can make it through the whole thing, but we know what we have now. So I think they're going to put something together there. You got Barkley back. He's on a contract year again, so he's going to be playing hungry just like he was last year. I think that defense can, you know, put together a good effort as well. So I like the home divisional dog here. What do you guys think? I don't know where else you guys were at.
Yeah, I don't really understand the line. That was my initial thought on this game when I looked it over. Um, you know, I always kind of go by the rule of thumb, like if it was swapped home and away, it's like a 2.5, 3 point difference, kind of. And if the Cowboys were home this game, I don't know how it would be a 6 point spread, or right around there. Uh, you know, I don't really get it. I think the Giants were the better team last year. The Cowboys, I think, just took a step back all offseason. I don't really, you know, they didn't do too much to add. Like Kieran said, they lost Kellen Moore. And I just don't see it with Dak in this current Cowboys makeup. They have a lot of good players, but I just don't think they put it together this early in the season, at least either. Dayball's a really good coach. My lean would be heavily towards the Giants.
And for what it's worth, talking about Kellen Moore leaving too is, I mean, one, like I do just worry whenever an offensive coordinator leaves, what that's going to do to that offense. If it was, you know, their magic, or if it was the head coach and that type of thing. And, you know, that's something I want to talk about with Buffalo as well. But, so I think that there will be an effect there because Kellen Moore, he was, you know, he liked to pass, he liked to do all that stuff. Their new offensive coordinator is Brian Schottenheimer. He's a bum. He was in Seattle. He was terrible. He was like the scapegoat for who was holding Russ back when they were saying let Russ cook. So I mean, he's their new offensive coordinator. He's replacing Kellen Moore. Like I said, I worry when it's like, oh yeah, this is like what Mike McCarthy wants. So I think it's going to go terribly for them. So yeah, that's why I'm on the Giants here.
I'm on the Giants as well.
Oh shit.
Oh man, we got an 0-5 week coming.
Maybe we
Man.
don't, you know. Well, you know, but here's the thing. I mean, this is not that like forcing ourselves to pick the Sunday and Monday night game is random, but like we've added more of a random element. Like Kieran, like one of the things you and I used to kick ourselves over a lot last year was we might go 1-4 on a given week, and then we look at some of the games we talked about and considered that we didn't take, and like, you know, we're mad because we would have hit on those. And, you know, because that's a game maybe that Zach brought in as his pick, and it forces us to make that pick. There's a little bit more of a randomized nature to this. So maybe, you know, even though we're agreeing on games, it's like we're forcing ourselves to talk about games that maybe otherwise we wouldn't have, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, like your Steelers pick, that was in my top 5, but that was my 5th pick, so that was not in my top 3 anyways. So if you didn't pick it, or you know, I never would have made the pick, but it is one that I like. So yeah, I mean that's actually, you know, to your point, that was a lean of mine that wouldn't have made my card, and here we go. Now it's on the card because you loved it. Oh, is that my niece Millie?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. She's joining the show a little bit. Yeah.
So I mean,
she'll make the logo now.
Obviously we agree on the pick, but I'll add some of the notes that I had. You know, Dable last year was 10-2 against the spread as an underdog. That was a team like, you know, Kieran and you and I talked about them a lot, you know, I think especially after like week 5 or 6.
Well, I think we kept trying to chase their downfall. And I
we did. But like we were talking about it every week, right? And it was like it continued to be a trend. The Cowboys have not won in week 1 under McCarthy. Haven't won a game. They're 1-2 against the spread, but they have not won straight up. I do like the way the Giants are trending. You know, I think second year on a Dable, like, you know, with Daniel Jones, you know, they talk a lot about kind of that maturation process for Josh Allen under him. And I think they're seeing a lot of kind of the same trends. And, you know, you look at the weapons he's got around him, like Kieran and you talked about it with Saquon, he's back, another contract here. He's hungry. They added Darren Waller, which I think, you know, if he could stay healthy, makes them really exciting at the tight end position. Solid receiving core. You know, there's names there that like they don't maybe jump off the page, but he had a really good rapport with those guys, like an Isaiah Hodges, right? And then Kieran, you know, Jalen Hyatt, you know,
the boy.
Optimistic. Our son, you know, he's gonna pop a long. He's gonna pop a long one, you know, against Trayvon Diggs. And
that's lunch meat.
I think too, like you know, there's a lot of like weird narrative swirling, you know, around Dallas. Like, you know, Dak, I think there's a lot of pressure this year. Like, you know, they got to figure out like this to me is kind of a make or break year. Like if he can't win it this year, or he can't have them in position to compete for a Super Bowl, like they got to move on. And going and getting a guy like Trey Lance, I mean, I don't know that Trey Lance is your guy either, but like that's a fucking flare, you know. If I'm Dak, I'm just like, well, what the fuck's that all about?
Right, like the Pats aren't doing that for Brady, the Chiefs aren't doing that with Mahomes.
Yep. So, you know, it's like there's some weird shit that, you know, these guys are fucking human. And you can't tell me that shit doesn't bother them, and that doesn't impact their play, and that's not going to be in the back of his head as he's going into the season to compete. So, yeah, you know, I look at this game and I think this was kind of the point you were making, Zach, of like, to me, this is like a pick'em game, and it's in New York, right? And yet the Giants are 3. Like that seems a little off to me. So, I think we're in a good spot getting 3 points here.
Yeah, they're going back to back in the Meadowlands, Sunday and Monday night. Both the Giants and the Jets are hosting.
It's exciting. It's an exciting time to be in New York sports.
I'm like 35 minutes away. I hope the traffic doesn't affect me. Not that I go far, but. But all right. Let me get the screen back up.
All right.
I took my name off, so it'll be between you two for the next one. So for Giants or for Jets and Bills.
Yeah.
All right.
I hate to do it. Just want to preface it before I pick. I don't believe in this team long term. It's against my nature. I don't love it, but I just I have a real strong feel on it. I love the Jets. I don't know why. I hate it. I hate it, but I'd be disingenuous if I didn't go with them. I have had a feeling in my stomach all summer. Had this one circled. If we weren't gonna auto like
You've had this one
you know,
circled all summer.
I'm not. I don't know why. I don't know why. I really maybe it's the hard knocks. Maybe it's the hype. I hate it. Again, I hate it. It's just a big feel for me. I think Rodgers is trying to be like the king of New York, but I think he's gonna end up being like Matt Harvey vibes for the Mets, where he tried to like jump into that role of being like Mr. New York and kind of flared out a little bit and never really lived up to it. I think Rodgers is gonna come in a little hot. To start the season, I don't know how it's going to end up. I don't think he's actually going to, I don't think they're going to go too deep in the playoffs or even make the playoffs. But for this week, I don't know why. Just a big feel. That's all I got, really, though. Circled all summer, though. Circled all summer.
Chris, where are
Of
you
all-
at?
Of all fucking games.
I don't know why, man. It doesn't make sense, but
I am on the opposite side. I'm on the Bills.
Bears.
I just believe they're the better team. I think they are still very much a Super Bowl contending team. I think they should very much believe that there's just like unfinished business with what they have over there and what they can accomplish. And I feel like they can win by a field goal. Their core is pretty much intact. They've kind of reshaped it a little bit, added to it a little bit. What is it? Dalton Kincaid at tight end to kind of complement and back up Dawson Knox. But I think ultimately he'll probably become kind of their top guy at that position. James Cook now is the feature back. I mean, he was a guy like coming into last year. I think a lot of people were excited about his potential, certainly from a fantasy perspective, but like he was kind of buried behind, Singletary and I think even Moss at the beginning of the season.
even at Georgia too, he never really like had that role at Georgia in college. So we've never
but
really seen him with
he
a
can fucking
workload.
ball. And
Yeah.
now you got Damian Harris as like that hard yard guy. So they got like that nice 1-2 punch, like a little bit like what Zeke and Pollard had in Dallas, that sort of thing. So and I just think the Jets have too many question marks. I mean, I think, you sign a guy like Rodgers. I think it's easy to get excited with some of the talent that's there. But the reality is that Aaron Rodgers, like he is deep into the back nine. He's probably walking up 18. And I think we just don't really know where he is in that progression of like, the end of his career. Like, are we going to get 2020 Tom Brady where like, goes to another team and he's still got that 1 year in him and with all these weapons, now he can fucking cash in? Or are we going to get like 2022 Tom Brady where like the arm's kind of shot, he's a little late on the reads, maybe a little later on the throws than he normally is, and like all of a sudden they just can't like convert. And I think the usage, the health of Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook, they've both been limited a ton in the preseason. They've acknowledged that both are going to play, but they're both going to be mindful of how they use them. And just like with that too, it's like you got a new quarterback, you got a new running back, a running back coming back from a serious injury. You've got young wide receivers who have to develop chemistry with a new quarterback who's old guard. I think it's going to take some time. I referenced the 2020 Bucks. It took them several weeks until like AB came in. They started to like really click, and then they took off and like really did it on the back end of the year. But I just think this is one of those things. Like, I think the Jets can be a competitive team. I think they're going to give, the fans something to be excited about, something to root. They'll be in the mix, but I just feel like the Bills are coming in like they are a powerhouse. And in week 1, I just like the Bills to cover a 2.5 point spread.
So, well, I guess I'm the tiebreaker here.
You are the tiebreaker.
Well, if I may talk about both teams, because I do want to make just points about them both. Just I might as well do it now that we're talking about it because they're two teams that I'm very interested in this year. And I just want to plant some seeds, some things to think about week to week. But I've talked about it, I think, with both of you before. But I'm really not big on the Jets like this year. I compare it to when Russell Wilson went from Seattle to Denver, and I asked the question was, is he really going to a better roster? Is he putting himself in a better position? I feel that same way with Rodgers going to New York. I don't feel like he's really going to a better team, right? I mean, especially for this year, I think you can argue that the Packers have the better run game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I think that's better than Breece Hall at whatever percentage he's at. Dalvin Cook, he's getting a little bit older. They're talking about the shoulder injury still being an issue. So I think that you can say it's at least comparable in the run game. The Packers have the better O-line. I think that the young receivers that the Packers have are very slept on. Of course, the difference is Aaron Rodgers versus Jordan Love when you're talking about the quarterbacks. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like Rodgers isn't getting enough of the blame for, how poorly last season went, right? He wasn't great either. He took a step back as well. He comes over to the New York and people say, well, they went 7-10 last year. They did that with Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Mike White at quarterback. I got the list. 5 of those 7 wins came against Jacoby Brissett, Mitch Trubisky, Skylar Thompson, Brett Rippon, Trevor Siemian. That was 5 of their 7 wins. That's, absolute, that's so easy. That's just crazy. That's a can of corn. So I think that they're a little bit overrated. That the roster that he's joining, the momentum that they have, I think is a little manufactured. I don't think it's totally genuine. So I don't think they're going to be that great. But on the other side with Buffalo, what I was referencing earlier, talking about offensive coordinators leaving, is that I don't know if the Buffalo offense is quite the same without Daboll, calling those plays, right? I think that he was kind of like the straw that stirred the drink when it came to the play calling there, getting a little more creative, getting people more involved. I do think that the Bills are going to take a little bit of a step back this year. I think that's a little weird that they put the Super Bowl trophy, that big picture that they have up in their practice facility. A franchise like them who's known for losing Super Bowls, they put a trophy up. They don't have one. And I think that that's just bad vibes. I think that there's something weird, right? They're denying the reports about Stephon Diggs and his contract stuff. I think the vibes are weird there as well. And I'm not a huge James Cook guy either. I just don't think that he can carry that full workload. Damian Harris is a toxic soul. I don't trust the offense to really come through. So in week 1, I was kind of on the fence, and then hearing Bowen have this, this love for it really swayed me. I'm going with the Jets.
No.
I'm taking the Jets.
No.
This is the game that Aaron Rodgers wins. This is the type of stuff that he loves. He loves this attention. He came over. He did the Hard Knocks thing. That he loved having Hard Knocks cameras on him. He's going to come in. They're going to win this. I always say, I know the Jets better than anybody else. I know the Jets better than Jets fans. This is a game that they win. They get that hope. They go crazy on Twitter. I'll have the Intaki brothers texting me, talking all about how the Jets are back, all that stuff. It'll be insane. And then in week 7, they'll be on like this awful losing streak. Aaron Rodgers won't have it, but they will show up for this. They are, that they've been thinking about this the entire offseason. This is the game they're getting ready for. I'm not huge on the Jets overall this year, but I do think that they're going to win this one.
All right.
Shit. All right. Wow.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. Wow. That was I really wasn't expecting that.
I think that's a fair point, Kieran, though. Like,
That's what he does. I mean, he's going on McAfee every week now on ESPN. He wants to go on, follow up this game. He wants to talk all about how great he was, all about the no-look pass he made, all that stuff. They're going to show up for this game.
I think Rodgers will struggle, if the wheels start coming off with the Jets in like a week 8, 1 o'clock game where like the spotlight's not on him and he just has to play in wherever city he's at, away, whatever it is. I think he'll struggle in those games just because he'll get checked out, or he has in the past. His body language sucks, but under that Monday Night Lights, first game of the year with the new team, no bad blood with anybody yet, because he is a toxic soul as well. If we're talking toxic souls, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy in a general sense. I think he's kind of a piece of shit. So, I think at least for week 1 Monday Night Football against a rival who has some flaws, I could totally just see them sneaking it out in some weird Monday night game to start the season.
The Jets beat Buffalo last year too.
Mhm.
I believe in Quinton Williams and Sauce Gardner. I think they could just make a play in the game that just flips it, and Roger gets a lead and doesn't look back and just bleeds the clock and
Yeah.
just does what Aaron Rodgers
And
does.
my
Dink
initial
and
lean
dunk
too
it.
was that it had to be a Buffalo Bills flex spot, right? Like they need to come in, say this is our division. You know, they need to show his boss. They don't have it like the Patriots had it though. Like they're really not that team. Like they're just not. They don't do it. Like they don't make it to the Super Bowl. They don't win these games. So I do think that maybe it's like just coming at the crown and seeing that they're a little bit shaky at the top. I think this division is wide open. I think it's gonna be really competitive top to bottom. That includes the Patriots. I do think that the Dolphins they're gonna make a good push for it too. So I'm not sure that Buffalo is quite that powerhouse that we're expecting. I do expect them to take maybe a slight step back, just not to be on that same tier as maybe Kansas City and Cincinnati. So yeah, I like it there. I really like this pick. And I like going against kind of my instinct too. I like that. Like I wanna fade the Jets because I hate them, but I know that this is a game that they win. So that's what I like picking. All right. So that puts us at so I guess Tristan's taking care of the baby.
Oh, yep.
I'll just
Yeah, he did.
cut this out.
Oh yeah, I had to.
All right, so that closes out the 5 then.
Yep. All right, so we're going Ravens -10, Steelers +2.5, Seahawks -5.5, Giants +3, and Jets +2.
Hell yeah.
All right.
All right. I just hit next.
So how do you submit those picks? Is it like a portal you go through, or do you just email this guy back?
It's a
the
Google
actual
form.
picks.
So he sends
Oh,
a
okay,
link,
cool.
so he sends an email with the lines, and then there's a link to a Google form. You click on that, and then you put in your contest number,
Yeah,
and then alias, which is our team name. And then he's got all the lines laid out, and you basically just check 5 boxes, whatever teams you want,
cool.
and then you submit it, and you're good to go.
So are these standings like a weekly updated like leaderboard that you can check, or is it
Yep.
like
Yeah, there's
okay.
a couple sites that do it, and then I gotta look at getting into the app too.
Okay.
Let me see. I've got to see. Let's see. What's the password? Interesting. Yeah, I gotta figure out. I'll figure out how to get us set up in the app. For our contest name. But basically the app's there too. Like you can like after they get the picks in, I can go and just double check and make sure that like they got the picks in right.
Cool.
And then yeah, there's a couple websites that they kind of track the standings, so you can kind of go and just see like where we're landing throughout the season. So
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up.
That's it.
Yeah.
Week 1.
Appreciate it, fellas. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for
all right.
having me.